Just like the temples in the city of Jerusalem was taken back then, our temples and our communities have been taken now, and they were taken without the enemy ever having to lift a finger. How? Let's get 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16. We want to give context. We want to give context to the temple so that when we go throughout this narrative, you can make the connection between the physical and the spiritual. Let's get 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16.
1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
Know ye not that ye are the temple of God?
Ye are the temple of God. Read.
And that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you.
And the Spirit of God dwelleth within you. Read.
If any man defile the temple of God.
If any man defiles the temple of God, sacrificing things that are unclean, doing wicked things with their body. Read.
Him shall God destroy.
Him shall God destroy. Read.
For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are.
Which temple ye are. Before looking back into history, perspective is provided through the present. I'm going to say that again. Before looking back into history, perspective is provided through the present. Right? Context is offered in the present as well. Look at where we are. And by looking where we are, history is evident. Right? We have this mindset, right? When we look at the state of our people, and we never look back and wonder what actions, because remember, every action is an equal and opposite reaction. Negative renders negative and positive renders positive. So when we look at our history, we automatically want to think of, we automatically go back to a cursed nation without thinking of what brought on the curse. The goal of the enemy in the time of the Maccabees was always to take the temple. The goal was always to take the temple. The temple of Jerusalem was the place that connected the Most High to his people. This was where sacrifices took place, where the Holy of Holies, the dwelling place of the Most High was. Right? So Paul is telling the church at Corinth that we are now the temple and the Holy Spirit dwells within us. Hence why this part of your brain is called the temple. I was talking to one of my players the other day, and he was saying I had something happen where he was like, I'm not as sharp as I used to be. Like my personality is different. And I was saying, behind your frontal lobe, the reason why the hardest part of your head is your frontal lobe is because who you are is located on the front part of your brain. And I was telling him, because both of us played football at one point, I'm like, that's why when you get hit on the top of the head or in the back of the head, they don't ask you the same questions when you have a concussion. If you were hit on the front of the head, they ask you who you are. What's your name? Where are you from? What's your mother's name? Because everything of who you are is at the front of your brain. Right? And in that area is where the Holy of Holies lie. That's your temple. The temple of God is here. Right? So when Paul is telling them, you are the temple of God, what you allow to enter and exit your mind is a part of that. What you allow to enter your body is a part of that. Right? The enemy knew that if they could take, plunder, and defile the temple of Jerusalem, that they could take the children of Israel completely away from their laws, customs, and morals. If I can take their community first, and I can get access to their temple, I cut them off from their God. Not only physically, but spiritually as well. If I can get this, if I can attack this, if I can change who they are, if I can adjust, if I can take things from their temple and then put things that I want in their temple, I can completely cut them off from their name, their nation, their customs, their God, and most importantly, their morals. Because when Israel lost everything, guess what we still had in our communities? Morals. We had conscience. A conscience towards who? A conscience towards God. You guys see where this is going. They've taken our temples.